what's your top three priority list right now?
I would still go Gadsden 1. I would go K-Dot 2 and Joe Flacco 3.
Not a single
Okay.
wide receiver, huh? That's interesting.
I think with the receivers. So first off, none of the injury guys are my favorite. I had Darnell Mooney as my favorite because I think there's long-standing appeal there.
Sure.
With the receivers, it's not a long-term injury for Nico Collins. At least that's the expectation. So the situation in Houston and Christian Kirk could potentially return this week. And then the situation with Tampa Bay, Chris Godwin could return at any point soon. Plus, they still have Emeka Egbuka and K-Dot. So I do think Tez Johnson's worth adding. I do think that Jalen Noel is worth adding. But I don't think you should rush to go get these guys. It's very similar to this has been the case with this position every week, every year, all season long. There's been a guy who has popped up, and then essentially that guy has disappeared. There's been not a lot of long-term standing production from injury replacements or somebody, just doing something special the previous week. It just hasn't been sustainable, at least unless I'm missing somebody. But I think in the case of the tight ends, like there are guys that could be somewhat sustainable. I also wouldn't break the bank at tight end because there's so many guys being potentially sustainable.
I think if you picked up Wan'Dale Robinson after week 1 in advance of his Cowboys game, that might have been the best. But even he had 3 horrible games in a row.
Right, you have to hold on to him.
Yeah.
It's also right. You picked him up and then probably dropped him and then picked him up again after Malik Neighbors got hurt.
Yeah, in the shallower leagues, there may have been a guy who's been better. And for example, there's a good question here. And Dave, I'm sorry, I'll get to your top 3 very shortly, but I think this is a good question. Would you pick up Chris Godwin, who's 79% rostered, or Tez Johnson? And does Chris Godwin, this is now my question. Does Chris Godwin have now an opportunity to be a must start? We've seen him 2 games. I mean, all right, I'll let you answer the question, then we can talk about it. But would you pick up Godwin or Tez Johnson if they were both available?
Tez.
Godwin.
Different answers there. All right, Dave, what are your top 3 priorities?
I'm going to go in a different direction than Jamey because I just think that we need to talk about wide receivers. There's like 20 of them that are missing this week due to injuries or buys or what have you. So I think people need receivers to replace. My top 3 for wide receiver, and I might flip this in show, but as of now, it's Mooney 1, Tez Johnson 2, and Marvin Mims 3. And it doesn't mean that I'm picking all 3 of those guys over the Oronde Gadsdens and Kate Ottens of the world. And if you need a quarterback, then of course Joe Flacco makes a ton of sense. But I'll just give those 3 as my top 3, not meaning that they're necessarily the top 3. It's probably the top 3 for a high percentage of everybody watching and listening because we need receivers this week.
All right, Jamey, one more time. Give me your top 3.
Gadsden 1, Otten 2, and Flacco 3.
Okay. There are a lot
if I had to give a legit top 3, Adam, it would probably be in the neighborhood of Gadsden 1, Otten 2, Mooney 3.
I think there's a lot of Adam. There's so many quarterbacks missing this week that Flacco, with what he's shown and what his matchup is, there's nobody that comes close to him on waivers.
Nothing compares to him.
There's just one thing I'd say about that is that there are a lot of quarterbacks who are rostered in there are 2 quarterbacks who are rostered in just over 65% of leagues that you're not including that are Jackson Dart and Aaron Rodgers. And they're close enough to the threshold that maybe we throw them in this discussion here.
Fair.
And would Jackson Dart be the prize on waivers this week with Rodgers?
I would take Dart over I'd go Dart, Flacco, Rodgers for this week.
Me too.
And rest of season, Dart, Flacco, Rodgers?
Dart.
Probably.
Yes. I'd rather roster Jackson Dart and then figure out Flacco, Rodgers on a week-to-week basis.
Okay. So it seems like if there's a guy on waivers that is more than just a week-to-week thing that you think could actually help us for a chunk of the season, if not the entire season, who would that guy be? Jamey.
That's why I go Gadsden first, just because I think with how poor the Chargers are going to run the ball and how much they're going to potentially throw the ball, even though there are 3 receivers that could be in his way, what we've seen the last 2 weeks, I hope is sustainable for Gadsden. In the case of Otten, it may be sustainable, but you throw Godwin back in the mix, and then if Tez Johnson becomes a thing, then does he become what he's been most of his career, which is somewhat irrelevant? In the case of Schultz, I mean, he's had 4 very solid games. We've been talking about this for a month now. Like,
Yeah.
just quietly 8 PPR points, 9 PPR points, 11 PPR points. That's kind of been it was 8, 8.9, 11, and then last night. They can't run the ball either, and their second receiver has been non-existent the entire season as well. So that position can help you for this week off waivers. For long term, though, I think it's Gadsden. So, and then Mason Taylor too for a 1 week situation. Going back just to the matchup, like I didn't realize how many touchdowns the Bengals have given up in the last 3 weeks to that position alone. 7 touchdowns to tight ends in the last 3 weeks, 9 on the season. So it's a great opportunity for him. But look, Darnell Mooney could be sustainable all season long. Tez Johnson could be sustainable all season long because of Evans' injury. I just don't buy it with Godwin coming back. And then the other receivers, just Juwan Jennings is in our range that we talk about and just had the most targets for the 49ers. But is that sustainable based on what we've seen? So it's hard to say that anything really is sustainable for the group of guys that we're talking about.
I don't think there's anybody that you pick up with the idea of, oh yeah, this guy's going to be a must start every week rest of season. I know Gadsden's been awesome the last 2 weeks, and you want to hope that he's that guy. But Jamey, you laid it out. Like there could be a target crunch there. The other shoe could drop on Gadsden. I do think there might be some staying power to Tez if he continues to play well on the limited targets that he gets. But it's absolutely contingent on when does Godwin come back? When does Jalen McMillan come back? Does the other shoe drop for him anytime soon? So I don't know if other than Gadsden, I don't know if there really is a rest of season guy outside of quarterback.
Dart.
That's out there. Right.
Like we would agree.
Dart would be a rest of season guy. Flacco might be too, man. That team is still going to struggle to run the football no matter who they play. And Flacco's proven now over 8 quarters that he can connect with those receivers.